Brand new podcast. Look, I've taken the hey guys out of all of it. I see so many people say hey guys online. It's just such a bad habit. Hola, Coca-Cola. This is a great podcast. I've known Eddie Ifft for probably 22 years, as long as I've been in comedy. And it's cool to see who we grow up as men. Like, y'all knew each other when we were young comics. I was working the door and he's hustling to get spots, and we'd go up and meet up at the room and have drinks late at night and talk shit about comics, talk shit about comedy, run into Dave Attell and he'd blow us off and buy us shots, and then the bartender would be like, don't talk to him. I've known him forever, but it's interesting to see the guy that he's turned into as a man, because he's super active, which I look up to. I would love to be more active, especially in a fun way, and that's what Eddie does. And we talk about comedy. He has a new album out right now called Sweet Home Alabama, because he lives in Malibu, but it's the poor people's Malibu, and where all the lunatics cut their scrotums open in the middle of the night. You'll understand when you listen to the podcast. You can get it anywhere you would get comedy, on iTunes, on YouTube, Spotify. It's awesome. He's a fantastic comic. But we spend the majority of this talking about his extracurricular activities. He's really into surfing and a great surfer. He's an amazing skier. He's into CrossFit. He does ultramarathons, triathlons, ran track in school. We talk about track because I ran track in school too. This is the podcast where I had to change shirts, but I just finished with him. I absolutely love him. He's a great guy, great comedian, and it's a great conversation. My buddy, stand-up comedian, Eddie Ifft. Starting
podcasting?
Now. Yeah, now we're podcasting.
Okay, so don't talk about that.
I won't bring it up.
Don't talk about what we just talked about.
Personally, I think women are just as good comedy writers as men. But if you don't feel that way, then that's fine.
No, I just don't think you should have hit her.
Well, I would if she wouldn't have stopped yelling the N-word. Your wife needs to stop yelling the N-word.
When I was a little kid, I was a ski instructor. I was like the youngest ski instructor at this.
Oh, that's right. You can legit ski.
Yeah, but no, not like good. But
but you can ski. Like, there's people that go, "Oh, I ski," and then you go skiing with them, and you're like, "Yes, snowplow." Yeah,
no, I mean I can ski. Like I ski raced and competed and stuff like that.
You legit ski.
Yeah, but like I'm not good. There's guys that are good. Yeah, like you see shit on videos.
First of all, for the record of how we would describe things as comics, you're an amazing skier.
Oh, as comics, we embellish everything.
Yeah.
But when I was a little kid, I was like 15. I was like the youngest ski instructor on our mountain. And I'm there one day and I'm in the chairlift line. And I don't think I admitted to masturbating yet. You know, like you don't admit till you're like 21. I
was 18. It was the first time I was like, yeah, I do it.
And I'm in the chairlift line, and they were like locals at this mountain, Seven Springs in Pennsylvania, in Pittsburgh, like locals. Like that's what they do.
Yeah.
I think
they call them gapers. I think
that's the gap between a gaper is the gap between your goggles and your helmet.
Is that what it is?
That's what a gaper is. And so back then we didn't wear helmets. This is a long time ago.
Okay.
So I
saw a girl in Portland that had a tattoo that said gaper on the back of her arm.
And she's probably making fun of.
No. She was a legit. I said to her, I said, that's an interesting tattoo, because I only know gapers as women who get fucked in their vaginas, their asshole stays open.
Just talked about this.
I was like,
podcast.
And I was like, is that, why would she put that on her arm? Like, we get it, you party, but, and she goes, no, I'm a local. I'm a local skier. And I went, oh, and I fucking Googled it, and it was like, oh, it's for a local skier term also.
This is a long story for such a dumb thing that happened, but this old local dude, while I was standing in the chairlift line in front, you know, like, it's almost like you're packed in this whole group of people. He just looked at me and went, Eddie, you never finished that story about what happened when your mom caught you masturbating. And as a little kid, I just folded. And I was like, everybody looked at me and I was like, she didn't catch me. I couldn't stop for like days thinking like, how do I ruin this guy? He crushed me.
Dude, so. There was older kids were always so good at that, those things. I remember one time these high school kids, we were in 9th grade, and they pulled up and they're like, hey man, and we're with like a big group, and I'm off to the side and they're like, hey man, and I was like, what's up? And they're like, come here. I go, what's up? And they're like, come here, man. And I was like, what? And he's like, do you want some beers? And I was like, fuck yeah. 9th grade. And so I kind of walk over to the car, and the guy lays on his horn as I get up next to the car. Now there's a big group of people, lays in the horn, and he goes, no, I won't suck your dick. And then took off. And I was like, and I was standing by their car, like leaning down, and everyone's like, you just asked that guy to suck your dick? And I was like, Yeah.
There was this Asian comic chick in New York. You probably know her. I forget her name. But I remember one time we were walking around Soho and she was just being funny. And we were sitting there like we're friends. We're just walking. And she'd be like, stop hitting me in the middle of like public. And I would go, stop. And she'd be like, I'm going to do it again. I'm like, don't do it
It's
again.
not fine. That never made me giggle. Like those people that would do that. Like I had a buddy who named Eddie, oddly enough.
I remember the Eddie stories.
And he would try to he would see who would fold, like, and he would try to hold my hand in public in front of people. Like when people, I never would fold, but man, he could take it to the next level where I sucked his dick one night. No, I'm kidding.
My brother-in-law and I held hands one day in front of my father-in-law. So it's like he's married. I'm married to the guy's daughter and he's married to the guy's daughter. And he's goofier.
Oh, it's just that your father-in-law has 2 daughters.
Yes.
Okay.
And my father-in-law is like a big, burly, manly man.
Yes.
And my brother-in-law is a goofy, like really goofy.
What's he do for a living?
He's an accountant, but he's just like an idiot.
A man's man?
No, more of like a man's lady. And he's, but just like one day we're just walking and we're all walking in a group and I grab his hand and we start walking together. And to this day, I think my father-in-law is upset about his daughter's decisions. There was no amusement at all. He was just like, it's like when you do gay jokes in front of a black guy. And they get really
don't ever do a gay joke in front of Donnell. Like we did a whole episode on the cabin of trying to get Donnell just to do anything Bobby and Lee and I thought was funny. Put stuff up my ass. I mean, I look at that and Donnell's like, no, bro, no, I don't fuck with that shit. I remember when we were on Reality Bites Back, they tried to get Donnell to wear leather booty shorts, and he put them over his jeans. He was like, "No, son, I still got friends. I gotta talk to my friends. Can't be. I'm not like this." And I was in them, no underwear, balls hanging out, leather vest, put makeup on me. I didn't give a shit. And Donnell's like, "No, I'm different than you."
You know what's so funny? Like when I have my album coming out that I'm trying to promote, and I message you, and you're like, "Sure, come on." Every white comic I'm friends with was like, sure, what do you need? How can I help you? Every black comic, just joking, but the response was like, fuck you. Or go fuck you. Donnell wrote, fuck you, son.
Fuck you, son.
Every single one of my, there's only one. But
every single one of my Godfrey, Donnell.
Godfrey, same thing. Artie, same thing. They were all like, fuck you, son.
God. Do you think I feel like my formative years when it came to learning how to tell race jokes was around those guys? And then it's interesting because you do it knowing that's where the level is, right? Like New York City, you could not get away, but like I think in New York City they appreciated a good fucking attempt at like being ballsy.
It's so funny because I always felt like you got that right away. I saw you and you, because I think you grew up, you were in that like group that liked, I grew up like white privilege, like not liking rap music. It came right after us where it crossed over and where we were just like, what is this new shit? And so you were already immersed in that where it was so foreign to me. When I went to college, I ran track and I was the only white guy on the team, like sprinter. Yeah. I was the only white guy. And I came from a high school where there was like one black kid and his name was like Thurston, it was really different for me. And so they were really funny, making fun of me all the time. And I had to figure out like, how do I make these guys laugh? And I don't understand, their culture's different than mine completely. Yeah. And they would all fuck with me constantly. And I was just like I dreaded track practice, not for how hard the practice was, but for how badly they were going to terrorize me. And I remember my first track meet, I ran against a guy named James Jett, who was an Olympian, ran for West Virginia. And we all had to run the 200-meter dash. And when we got there was like 20 of us sprinters, and there were like 20 heats of the 200 at the Hardy's Invitational. And I get there and I'm like, everybody's like, who's going to run James? Who's going to run James Jett? And we had guys
what was
that were
the
like
distance?
200 meters. But I mean, I was a hurdler, but they made us all run the 200.
I had a smoking 200 time in 9th grade. In ninth grade, I was like, I remember them being like, if you work at this, you could get, and then I just ended up playing baseball. God, I was fucking flying for the 200 and the 4. I ran the 200 and the 400.
4 is hard. That's a hard race.
In ninth grade, I broke a minute, which is hard. It's not overwhelming. It's not like fucking stop the presses. I think they run it like 42 seconds now. Or whatever.
That's really fast in high school to break.
In ninth grade,
that's really fast.
My dad was. I could be wrong on that now that I think about it, but my dad was like an Olympic hopeful or something. Like he ran track in college. So my dad taught me how to run the 400. And so it was like first 110 is a sprint. Next 200 is long, lean, breathing strokes, like long, like you find your pace. And then the last 100 is a sprint. So I knew how to run and like I was running fartleks in 8th grade, 9th grade training for it. So I was training. I wasn't just out there running. And then baseball.
Where'd your dad run?
Villanova.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we competed against Villanova. So when I learned to run the 400, because the 400 was one of my events and the 400 hurdles. When I ran the 400, my 8th grade track coach, I think it was 8th grade. No, maybe it was my high school track. I said to him, how do you run the 400? I hated it, but I was good at it. I said, how do you run the 400? And I said, what's the way to stop? And he goes, well, when you come out of the blocks, you want the whole shot. You want to beat everybody out of the blocks. And he goes, you got the turn. You're going to run the turn as fast as you can. He goes, and then you're going to try to be out in the lead. He goes, then you have that straightaway. He goes, that straightaway is right in front of you. You just sprint that as fast as you can. He goes, now you just have the last turn. He goes, run that as fast as you can.
And then you kick.
And he goes, and then all you have left is that straightaway to the finish. And you go as fast as you can. And I was like, so I sprint this whole, and it was the last, like, I think the 4x400, which I ran a lot, was the last event of a meet. And I used to just sit with anxiety the whole time. And again, it wasn't about my performance.
I haven't thought about this in probably 20, 30 years. Was the 400 the last event of the day?
The 4x400 was.
The 4x400. I ran the 4x400 also.
Yeah. And that was brutal because not only did you have to perform well, you had to perform well with the pressure of 3 other guys going like, don't let us down.
Yeah.
And that they did that to me at Pitt. It was terrible. But the story about James Jett was he beat me so badly in the 200 that I could he was like 10 meters away from me, which is far in the 200.
Yeah.
And when we got on the bus to ride back from West Virginia to Pitt, the coach put the videotape in that's how long ago, put the videotape in on the bus and played my race over. This is a coach did this to me.
Oh my God.
Over and over and over. And I sat in the front of the bus. It was like reverse. Like I'm in the front and they're all in the back and they're all just cackling. And they kept saying Eddie Ifft got waxed. Wax on, wax off.
You know what's interesting is when I think about, I haven't thought about track in forever. And it was such a huge part of my life because of my dad. But
I never knew your dad was a good track. Villanova's great.
Oh yeah. That's my dad's the one who's like, you could run a marathon, no training. Just do it. Just do it. Yeah, anyone could do it. And so when I did that,
you said train. That was training.
What's that for the marathon?
Yeah,
I told everyone I ran on treadmills.
Yeah, but that's training.
Yeah, no, but I didn't train like you're supposed to train like run 13 miles. I never did any of that. I just ran like 3 miles a day.
I think that I ran a 68-mile race, and
your fucking sports are kind of confusing to me because you are a legit skier, surfer, CrossFitter, distance runner, like ultra marathoner, like and it's so funny. I think if you're in great shape, but I don't think people see you as a sports guy.
No, because I did sports radio and I detested it because the last thing I want to do is talk about any sport that I can't play. So I don't want to talk football. I don't want to talk about baseball. I don't want to talk about basketball.
Yeah, how come they don't have sports radio where they talk about I watch more. I know more about ultramarathoners.
Yeah, it's
than
great.
I do or surfing. Like
because it's such a niche thing. Like nobody likes it, and it's so weird. I know everything about surfing. I love surfing. I'm obsessed.
I'm obsessed with surfing, and I do not surf. I mean, it's fucking crazy, but like I know so much about surfing, and I do not surf. And like I have surfed, and I can surf. Like I'm
absolutely obsessed with it to the point where like I think I'm getting to be known in the surf community with all the like pro surfers as like, here he comes. Like, oh no.
Uh-oh.
Go.
Wait, what pro surfers? I'll tell you my favorite pro surfers.
Favorites to watch. Well, he's like a friend of mine, so I don't want to give him any credit, but it's like one of those things where I like to like make fun of him, so I don't like to give him. Like,
yeah.
So I don't even want to say his name like that much.
Who? Just say it.
No, I'll tell you, I don't want to give him any like.
Just say it, cover your mouth, and we can bleep it out.
No, I'll tell you. It's Albie Lair.
Albie Lair?
Albie Lair, yeah. He's a big wave surfer, and I just love it. He's a big wave surfer, but he also can do really good aerials. Italo Ferrara is probably the best surfer alive, I think. John's great.
Yeah.
Kelly's my all-time favorite of all.
Yeah,
time.
well, like everyone. I mean, that guy, I grew up in Florida, so that guy was like a hero to all of us.
He's my idol. And it's funny, like a month ago or so, I get this call from one of my best friends that owns a restaurant in Indonesia. And he's like, Eddie, look who I'm with. And it's Slater. And he's like, and I was supposed to go there. And he's like, and it's Slater going, Eddie, don't come here. Nobody wants you here, Eddie. And I'm like showing I'm like, Kelly Slater said.
You're taking pictures. I'm planning a trip. I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm planning a trip with Nathan Florence to go to, is it Tahiti?
Well, what do you want to say? What wave?
Big, thick,
well, there's a whole bunch.
Fat wave.
Oh, that's Chopu. So
is that how you say it?
Chopu. Yeah.
I thought it was Tiapu.
Well, Chopes is the nickname for it. And so here's what happened to me. I met Albie Lair. I hosted the Surfer Pole Awards. And afterward, I kind of bombed because they put me up.
You're going to bomb. Like any of those. I never do any of them because I go, I'm not set up. My comedy isn't good for that.
I wrote jokes. I knew everything about every one of them. And I roasted them. Oh. And I even went up to Matt Wilkinson before. I'm like, hey man, I'm going to make some jokes about your partying. And he looked at me like, why would you do that? And I was like, so afterwards I'm taking a piss, and it was funny. Like all the bad boys of surfing were coming up to me like, man, you're fucking funny. Yeah. And like all the corporate guys were like avoiding me like the plague. And, I mean, I did one joke about Alana Blanchard. Do you know who she is?
Oh yeah, of course. So wait, was Alana Blanchard friends with the young lady who? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I said that lost her arm, Bethany Hamilton. I said, I think it was like my opening joke. I said, Albie Lair this year did arguably the greatest move in surfing. He did like a 720. It was 540. It's arguable how much he rotated, but I go, it's arguable that it's the greatest move in surfing. I said, I think it's number 2 to Alana Blanchard's duck dive. Because she's always got this thong, and I got booed. And
I bet surfers are very woke.
Very. And the cameramen aren't even allowed to focus like on a girl's butt, or no commentator can talk about it or make reference to it.
Oh, I guess they all kind of, like, I guess that's like if someone was like, man, I tell you what I love about Sarah Silverman is her tits. That's why she's good. Yeah, and you'd be like, first of all, she's one of the best comics in our generation. I don't even know if she has big. I don't even know if she has big tits.
But the funny thing is, I heard Sarah saying something about like recently about being considered a female, and I see women say it all the time. If I get called a female comedian, I've never looked at Sarah as like a female comedian. I'm like, she's a comedian.
I've never looked at her I mean, this is going to sound silly, and I think you'll probably agree. I've never looked at her in my league. Like, she's always one league ahead of me. She's a fucking she's fucking, I'm scared of her. She's so funny. I don't think of her as, I don't think of her as a female. I mean, I guess maybe I do see her as she was the first comic I ever saw where I went, she was wearing sweatpants and like a fucking NYU sweatshirt or something at the Boston Comedy Club, and she murdered.
I saw her on Caroline's Comedy Hour, her and Rogan, and they were the two that were dirty. And I loved them both. I was like, this is before I even started stand-up. And I'm like, oh my God, they're saying shit I've never heard comedians say on TV.
Sarah is fucking epic. I love Sarah. I love Janine Garofalo. But I guess you could say, I'm certain they identify as female comics because I'm guessing every fucking male comic is a fucking piece of shit. That's all that I can assume based on being a male comic. I remember what's his name's Marin's ex-wife rolled in to start
Mishna Wolf.
Mishna. And I do remember how many people wanted to have sex with her. Like how many people were like cock blocking each other and just fawning all over. And
I
you're
just talked about this with my friend. Most guys, I remember one time, who was it? April Macy or one of my friends.
Yeah, April Macy was someone
said to me,
was like,
"Oh, you're one of those comics that got into it to get laid." And I'm like, isn't that why every male does everything, is to attract the female species?
I was with a group of comics and a female comic. I only say female because it's important I gender her in this story. Said any comic who tries to have sex with his fans and leverage that power structure is a pig, and that is sexual assault. And I was with a bunch of guys who are all alt comics, and they were like, "We can't fuck our fans." And I was like, I've been married. I've never been able to fuck my fans. And they're like, "Hold on, we're not allowed to fuck our fans." Like, hold on, like. And you could see it in their head. They're like, the only reason I got on stage is so women would find me attractive. Like, the only reason I did this was to fuck people that find me funny. Like, I've never been able to fuck people. I need them to know I'm funny, so I got on stage. Like, I was watching them. That can't be right. And they're all fucking
I know,
woke.
it's like, why do it? Why get into it? Like, it's too hard. It's too hard to.
I fucked one person that found I was funny once, but I was too young for there to be a power dynamic.
I haven't found one person that's found me funny. So I haven't been able to fuck anyone that found me funny yet. Yeah, my wife doesn't even find me funny.
My wife definitely doesn't find me funny. I said a joke last night. I said, you're bloated when your wedding ring is too tight on your finger. And I wasn't wearing my wedding ring. She goes, you're not even wearing your wedding ring. I said, it's all my, I go, you're bloated when your wedding ring doesn't fit. And she goes, you're not even wearing your wedding ring. I said, it's on my necklace. And then that bloated. And she goes,
it's funny.
Yeah, she goes, I don't get it. And when
Bert, she's from the South.
Yeah, fucking no shit.
My wife is too.
Ugh. Anyway, go back to surfing.
Oh, I
really think, just so you know, I genuinely think I could get towed in.
Okay, so before you go, because I heard you say this, Albie and I met in the bathroom at the urinals, and he goes like this, dude, sorry for surfers. We're really dumb. And he goes, you want to do a shot? And I used to have this regular gig that I did over in Oahu at the North Shore.
Yeah.
So I went and I do shots with him, and we party all night. And then he came to my show at the Comedy Store, and then we hung out a bunch of times and partied. And one night we were out with the editor of Surfer Magazine, who I know, who hired me. And
what's his name?
Todd Prodanovich.
There used to be a guy named Jesse that used to that worked for Surfer that would send out these texts to people. Never mind. Keep going.
Anyway, long story short, Albie made fun of me. I broke my elbow one time surfing with him, and my elbow just like cracked off the olecranon bone, and I didn't even wipe out. I was paddling, and he's like, "What the fuck?" And so he's joking about that, and he said something about like me. It was like 2-foot surf, and he's like, "You couldn't even surf a 2-foot wave," and I go, "Well, I'll have you know that man's greatest fear is speaking in public. So what I do is much more dangerous than what you do." And Todd said, "Oh my God, this is great." He goes, "Albie," and this started 5 years ago. He goes, "Albie, we should get you to do stand-up because he's really funny."
Yeah.
And he goes, "And Eddie, we'll get you to surf a big wave." So I agreed. I said,
I want to see if I follow him on Twitter.
So I agreed to go to
How do you spell Albie?
Albee. So I agreed to go to Todos Santos, which is this big wave out in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah, I know Todos.
And I was going to surf Todos Santos, but they wouldn't let me tow in. You can't tow there. So
why? Who?
Because it's like they don't want surfboard, or they don't want jet skis out there.
Okay.
Like guys that paddle in don't want you. It's kind of bullshit. It's
that makes sense.
Mavericks, they don't want you towing unless it's really big. There's kind of rules about it's like unwritten rules about towing. So then they all talk me into, as they start this project, they talk me into doing Jaws. And they're like, you're going to tow Jaws. So cut to, it's been 5 years now. I have done all the breath courses. I have done, I've gone out done the towing, done the practice towing, gone to the big waves, gone to everything. And about 3 weeks ago, I went down to Hawaii to Jaws, and a big swell was coming.
No.
And Albie has written like 2 jokes. Like, he's so not, and as soon as the pandemic happened and Surfer Magazine went under. My first text was like to Todd and Albie, and I go, I guess I'm off the hook. And, because I told them the whole time, I said, if I get there, I've got kids. I see this thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm pulling out. But
don't you think, hold on, just tell your story and then yeah.
So Albie, when we were being interviewed, because they were going to do this like 7-part series on it, Albie goes, I go, you don't understand, Albie. Mine is way more dangerous because I could die. Yeah. I could like die doing this, but I've practiced the vest, inflating it underwater, everything. He goes, no. He goes, I could really die. He goes, I go, what? You could just bomb on stage. He goes, yeah, but I'll kill myself if I bomb badly. And I'm like, it's not the same, dude. You don't understand. You'll feel horrible. I'll die. Like I'll die. So a bunch of my friends, like I'm friends with this guy, Jamie Sterling, who won the Big Wave Awards. Jamie's like, just let me take you. He goes, I know you. You're going to love this. And it's going to become like an addiction of yours. And when I did do towing, I wasn't towing big waves. I was going off Camp Pendleton and just doing like overhead, like maybe a couple feet overhead. And I was like, I fucking love this.
Wait, so what is the difference between I know the difference between paddling and towing, but I feel like there's a bigger level of people that could tow into a wave and ride a wave successfully.
Way easier to tow in.
Way easier
to tow in because you paddles where you take the drop where it's scary because you got to get part. From the down position to the up position, which is where the perilous point. That's your danger point. And if you're not going fast enough or you haven't paddled hard enough and you get yourself at a point where the wave's breaking on you or you're not deep enough, whatever. There's so many different things that can happen. Whereas towing, they're pulling you into it.
How fast are you going when you tow? Because that's the other thing I go, I watch Kai Lenny a lot. Mm-hmm. Well, he had a really big summer or winter.
Yeah.
And I see them tow in and I just go, oh, I could do this. And then before the wave starts breaking, just get the fuck out of it.
Well, you're trying to go for the shoulder. It's like snowboarding with an avalanche chasing you. But what you have to understand is the wipeouts, I've had some bad wipeouts. I've surfed all over the world, in the Maldives, in all over Australia. I've surfed every wave in Australia. I've surfed, New Zealand, Hawaii, South Africa. When you get held down, even for a little bit, it's fucking scary. It's terrifying. And I have this, we've talked about this. I have cleithrophobia, which is a fear of being trapped. And there are times like these guys talk about it. I've never been held down like this, where you are being pushed by the wave onto the reef or the ground, like the sand underneath you. Like it's holding you onto the bottom. I said to Albie,
I'll never do it.
I was like, how deep am I going to go underwater? And he's like, really fucking deep. Because Jaws is not it's not like a big, it's a deeper one. Like I'd rather surf Jaws than Pipeline because Pipeline's like you're gonna smash on the reef. I surf the waves all around Pipeline, but I never surf Pipeline because I was like, that's too scary.
Yeah, that makes no sense. It's almost like
I call myself an average surfer, and like there are guys that want to murder me for this experience that I've had and gotten to do, and I have to like reiterate, like I'm a douchebag, and this is why they're doing. It's almost like funny that I'm risking my life for this. But there were a lot of people mad about it too. Like we talked about it. I'm like, am I going to upset? And they're like, yeah, because everybody wants that wave. And if you're out there and you tow into one that is their wave and you average surfer out there, well, like the best in the world. But we were going to like, the goal was to get like the day before the big swell or the day like as the swell's dying.
Yeah.
And my other thing is I like to go left instead of right, and Jaws is a right.
Yeah.
And the left is even more dangerous because it's rocky, but I really like going left. And like I'm a much better surfer left.
I've just for the record, I've only gone right.
Oh, really? So
yeah, I've never that's how little.
You're regular folk.
That's how little. Yeah, that's how little amount of surfing I've done.
Yeah, and so I can tell you that getting up on a tow board is hard.
For real?
Yeah, unless you were like a really good wakeboarder.
Really good wakeboarder.
Okay, then you're fine. It's just like wakeboarding. But I grew up water skiing, so it was like fairly easy for that. Step offs are hard, where you sit on the back of the jet ski and they pull into the wave and then you dive off and then pop up. those are pretty hard to, I mean, like a good surfer's like, they're fucking easy. And I was like, this is fucking scary.
Those kids are, I say kids because they're probably a lot my age, but they're just so, there were kids growing up when we were kids that like Sal Carinante could get on anything and ride it immediately just better than anyone else. And you were like, well, shit, you should try surfing. And he's like, yeah. And then here we are growing up surfing, but not ever doing any good. No one ever was good at it. I mean, some guys were better than others. I sucked. I mean, I really sucked. And, but Sal Carinante got up first time fucking.
Yeah, I've seen guys do that. I've taken guys to surfing and they get right. I found it, of all the sports I've done, surfing maybe the hardest. I tried windsurfing. I found that really hard too.
Yeah.
When I went windsurfing, I had the wrong size kite or wrong size sail, and I was just getting the shit kicked out of me.
I went windsurfing when I was a kid I don't know, my dad got me windsurfing lessons, and I was maybe 8th grade, and I thought it was awesome, and then never did it again.
Yeah, it looks, I don't know. Like I found snowboarding simple. I found like skiing came very easily to me. A lot of sports came easy. Golf was hard to get good. Like, cause it's not my mindset. Like I'm like a really bad golfer. And I started when I was like 4, like my brother's a scratch, and my dad wanted me to be a football player and a golfer, and neither of them did I.
Golf came to me very quickly. With no lessons, just very easily. I don't know why. We just all started playing at the same time, me and my friends. We were all playing baseball, and our moms would just drop us off at Babes Harris in Tampa, and you'd play in the morning, have lunch, and then play in the afternoon, and then our moms would pick us up, and then we'd go to baseball practice. And for whatever reason, golf just, for all of us, came really quickly. And then still to this day, I could go out and play pretty handily. Like, I think people are always shocked that I'm as good a golfer as I am, because I never fucking
like, how
play.
good are you? I'm terrible.
Oh, I'm good enough to play with, in a good skins match. Like I'll push a couple of them and maybe win a couple, but like I'm not scratch golfer. I'm sorry. Bogey golfer, maybe. Like,
yeah, I like to break 100 for me is like, wow.
Yeah,
what a good day.
But here's the thing is like, if you can, I say the first day I go out and play, I'll play really good. And everyone will be like, God damn it, man, you're good. And then as I keep playing, it gets worse.
That would happen to me too. I get bored. Like I can do 9 holes pretty well, and then 10, 11, 12. I have a group of guys that I play with who were lifeguards with me in New Jersey. And they're the only guys I play golf with. And I'll go to the East Coast and they're like, hey, let's play golf. And after about 3 holes, we are so drunk that golf carts end up in lakes. Like, people, every single time you drive away, your bag has been unhooked and you drive away with your bag on the ground.
Well, I had a period of time, like a year, full year, where I played golf twice a day, every day for a year. Yeah. Me and Gary,
out here.
I joined a country club with Gary Valentine.
Oh,
and we played every day, twice a day. We play in the mornings and then play in the evenings.
You didn't have kids then.
Didn't have kids.
Yeah.
And I got good. Like I got really good around that time.
I never knew this.
Yeah. I was, and then there would be periods where I got really obsessive with golf. I can get really obsessive with golf where I start playing a lot, but I don't like to play with other people. I like playing by myself.
I want to get back into it because I just feel like now I've figured out how to probably get good at it with like my mind, because I've like worked on my mind a lot and breathing techniques and stuff like that I think I could focus better and also enjoy the peace and serenity of it, where before that was like the antithesis of what I wanted. Now that I have kids, I'm like, oh, you mean I could go somewhere and walk on green carpet for 4 hours away from my children screaming? And so I think I'd enjoy it now. But my wife has said to me, if you pick up another fucking hobby.
Well, yeah, because you're also really big into CrossFit. By the way, I've been watching a lot of CrossFit lately. A lot. Like I could talk specific numbers with you about different events where I go, like, because I'd never deadlifted in my life. I'd gone to CrossFit and done CrossFit, but I never, like, I have a meathead's mentality.
Yeah.
So like when I got to CrossFit, all I thought was, this is all shit we did in high school and you guys are all doing for your first time. And I don't have a lot of time for that. Like, I'm not investing in this.
Yeah.
I felt that way. I was like, I've already done all this shit in my life. I'm doing this to try to get in shape. And if I don't love it, I'm not going to be here. So like we'd they say whatever the fucking thing was, deadlifts. I'd be like, I didn't have any ego about it because I just didn't have any ego about it.
That's funny because CrossFit's all ego.
And so I would say to the guy, Carlos was his name, really cool guy.
Which one did you go to? Horsepower?
I don't know. I don't even remember. It was right by my house.
Trying to think.
LA. I don't know. Look, Angelino's CrossFit. Is that right?
I don't know it.
Anyway, the guy I would just be like, hey man, just tell me what I'm doing. And he would be like, oh yeah. And he'd be like, you can probably do 100. And I was like, okay. So I'd throw it on and then do it. It wasn't until I started working out here where I was like, we did deadlifts max out.
Do you have a gym on the compound?
Oh, you haven't seen my gym?
Yeah, I want to see it.
Oh, you'll see after. It's pretty awesome. But it's all, nothing like super heavy, but we did deadlifts and I forget how much I did. Was it like 305? Is that like
that's heavy?
Yeah. I forget. I really honestly forget. So but I remember calling Tom and being like, what can you deadlift? And Tom, Tom's dad.
Yeah, I think you told me Tom deadlifts a lot.
His dad was like Olympic powerlifter.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so Tom grew up around weights. Like he just grew up around them and he grew up around doing the exercises. So Tom with his busted knee and busted hand did like 185 10 times the other day and then sent it to me. I was like, and his form's fucking flawless. Like he looks great doing it. But yeah. And so now I'm like really, and I benched 235 the other day and I was
good.
Like,
I have a terrible bench press, but I don't know what I can still deadlift, but I think I got up to 475.
It's impressive.
I think I could probably, it's funny. I was talking to a guy, like the dudes I hang out with, are freaks.
Yeah.
And, the funny thing is this thing called, I was just talking to Rob Orlando the other day, who's a really, really strong guy that's been in the CrossFit games I do a podcast about CrossFit.
Yeah, that's right.
And I've been doing it for like 10 years. He said they had a cold deadlift bar in this gym that they just set up. And when you walk by it, you had to lift it. No warm up, nothing. And they just kept increasing the weight. And everybody, when they would walk by, they would just pick. And I go, what'd you get it to? And he goes, just right below 600.
Jesus.
Cold. Like it's one thing to warm up.
Yeah.
Like when I did 475, I probably did, 300 for a while, 350 for a while, 380, then, get to 405, 410, 415, just walk up to almost a 600-pound deadlift.
That's insane.
Yeah. There's freaks of strength. And I get to see it. And I got into it because.
You've been into it a long time.
Yeah. What happened when I got out of track, I started doing triathlons. And I hated triathlons.
I hated triathlons.
I'm doing the Ironman this year.
Are you really?
Like you said, no training. I'm training. I train every day, but I'm going to do the Ironman without like real Ironman training. Like I like to mountain bike, so I probably won't do a lot of road biking.
Yeah. Fuck. Oh, I road biked I bought a bike for the triathlon.
Yeah.
And loved the biking portion of my triathlon. Hated the swimming, hated the running, loved the biking.
I like the swimming. It's kind of cool. Especially if
swimming was terrifying.
Especially if it's in like a creepy environment. I like it.
Swimming was terrifying for me. But it was a very life-defining moment, life-affirming moment.
Which one did you do?
Some fucking Lake Castaic or something.
Oh yeah. Did you do Olympic distance or sprint?
Sprint. Clydesdale division.
Oh.
That's what they call fat guys there. Guy goes, Clydesdales? And I go, what's that? And he goes, it's for you. And I went, well, what's that? Like older people? And he goes, big guys.
Furry feet?
Yeah. And so, but I love the biking. And then my buddy hit me up, Casey over at Preston and Steve was like, hey, we're riding bikes from Philly to Atlantic City. Are you in? And I was like, yeah, fuck yeah. Why not?
What's that, about 100 miles?
No, I want to say it's 65. 80? Will you see how long it is? And I was like, sure. That doesn't seem that bad. How long is it?
It depends on where you are in Philly. It's probably 80 miles.
It sucked. Yeah. Dick. And I said, I'll never ride this bike again.
Did they go down like those country roads? Or yeah. Oh, that would suck.
It sucked. I had anal sex with the state of New Jersey. It sucked. The road sucked.
Biking can just fucking.
Biking and my asshole was raw.
Yep.
62 miles. I think it was 65 is what we ended up doing. And it was, that last run into Atlantic City where the wind is blowing at your face and you're going over the bridge. Oh, fuck that. That was so hard. This podcast is brought to you by Tushy. I am in Georgia without a Tushy, and I am losing my mind. See, it's not just about cleaning shit off your ass. Sometimes in the South, you get a ton of juices on your asshole. It makes it itchy as shit. And then you try to wipe it with toilet paper, and it's just not worth it. I'd rather have water, cleaning my ass all the time. Think about it. If you had ass juice on your sleeve, would you just wipe it off? If someone pressed their ass onto your jeans, would you just be like, oh man, you get a new pair of jeans, you get water to it and soap and you clean it. You wouldn't just smear it and spread it with, God damn it, as if poop wasn't enough. Summer's all here and we've all got ass sweat, butt sweat, swamp ass, you name it. In the South, we call it swamp ass. Get yourself a precise, angled, steep, steady cleaning stream nozzle that cleans itself. Starting at only $99, Tushy Bidet installs in under 8.5 minutes and requires no electricity, no additional plumbing, so you can just have a clean ass all summer. Attach Tushy to your existing toilet, drop trowel, and watch your anus say wow. If you don't love the idea of cold water on your bum, get the Tushy 3.0 Spa or the Spa 3.0 for an added bonus of temperature control. Warm, clean buttholes. Are you kidding me? I'm telling you, this will change your life. Go to hellotushy.com/Bertcast to get 10% off your order and free shipping. Everything is curbside. Everything's on demand these days, whether it's movies, my freaking doctor visit, my lunch will be coming any minute now, curbside. Everything is dropped off, delivered, and super touch a button. And your customers, if you have a small business, have grown to expect a simpler way of doing business, no matter what your product. That's why more than 90,000 local businesses of all sizes have turned to Podium. Podium makes doing business as easy as sending a text, because when texts get open, business gets done. All your employees can text from a single box, offering a smoother experience for your customers. Answering questions? Send a text. Collecting reviews? Send a text. Scheduling an appointment or delivery? Send a text. Payment or collection? Just send a text. Car dealerships are selling more cars by offering text messages. There's a dealer that just sold a $50,000 truck in 4 text messages. Home service providers are responding faster and winning more jobs than their competition. Retailers are increasing revenue by allowing customers to shop via text messages. Local service professionals keep clients longer, collect payments faster. A dentist in New York just had $1 million in overdue collections. Send everyone a text, bam. Payment requested, $700,000 in 2 weeks. Today's customers expect on-demand everything, even from local businesses. Stay ahead of the competition with Podium. They have free plans for growing businesses, plus all the power growing businesses need to scale. Get started free today at podium.com/Bert. That's podium.com/Bert.
So the Ironman that I said I was going to do, so I was looking at all the different Ironmans to do, and I was like, after I did my 68-mile run.
Because they have a bunch set up around the country, right?
They're all over the place. And the weird thing is I went to sign up and they're all sold out.
Really?
They're all and that was my whole thing is like, I see these guys that do the Ironman, they get the tattoo and they buy all the merchandise. And they're like, I'm an Ironman. And I was like, oh, I'm going to fucking, I know I'm going to get my ass kicked and I'm going to probably eat my words, because I was like, I'm going to do this with fucking minimal training and blah, blah, blah. So I said, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to look for the hardest, scariest fucking Ironman. So I started Googling. I found out there's this one in Norway called the Norseman. You swim in like 50-degree water. And then you just ride these like hilly, icy roads. And then you ride. So I hate surfing in cold water. So I was like, fuck that. I just don't want to like be miserable. So then I looked up the second hardest one is the Bearman out of France. And these aren't registered Ironmans, but they are Ironman length distance, but much fucking harder. Yeah. And you swim, you start at night, you swim at night. And then, because you're going to go a lot longer than an Ironman because of the altitude. Night? Then your bike is practically a stage of the Tour de France. So you are going in those mountains. Oh my God! And I live in the mountain. Like the mountains that I ride, I do vertical feet like every day, like a couple thousand up and down, up and down. I was like, oh my God. Like these guys are going to ride 112.
That's like insane.
Insane. And I was like, how do you do this? And then you run in the hills like that. And it said, you have to completely There's no aid stations. You're completely like packing your own stuff and having your own stuff. It's just supposed to be, they only let like 200 people do it. And I was like, this is what I should do. I should do this because like, if I can do this, I can do anything.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things where I have to like be calculated and think like, at what point might I die? And then how much life insurance do I have? Like,
see, that's my problem is I never thought you could get hurt doing any of these things.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And then when I did the triathlon was the funnest thing I ever trained for. And I trained for it. I trained for it with Men's Health. Like they got me, they got me like a trainer and he told me what to do. And so I loved swimming. I loved it.
Training or the swim?
I love the swimming. What I would do is I go, there's a place on is it on Riverside? On Moore Park, maybe? There's like a place where it's it's on it's on Riverside. And it's a pool and it's got an outdoor track.
Oh,
and
nice.
So I would just go, I'd ride my bike down there, it was only 3 miles from my house. Ride my bike down there, swim, and then run. And I loved it. I fucking loved the training. And then when I did the triathlon, I was very anxious because I didn't know anyone there.
That's what the race is. It kills you. It fucks you up because you can't sleep the night before.
Couldn't sleep the night before. Hadn't drank in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's a terrible feeling.
And then you don't know, like I was just lost. And then we did the swim and I got out like doing the swim going like, pace yourself. It wasn't a very long swim. It was like a sprint triathlon. And I get out and I'm like touching the toes of the guy in front of me. I'm like, what the fuck's this guy doing? Like, and then I look and I'm like, I'm in third place. And I'm like, are you fucking serious? And I'm looking and there are people swimming in the wrong direction. And I'm like, are these guys fucking idiots? I was so stupid, Eddie. I thought like an idiot. I swam with the people in the pack as opposed to the people that were off to the side were just like, oh, I don't care. I don't want to get trampled. And when I got to the buoy, I did this move that I'd only seen online, never attempted before. It was like a rollover turn. And as I rolled over, the guy behind me swam on top of me and pushed me down. And I started sucking in water. And I literally I'm not even lying, I almost had to wave to a person on a paddleboard like I'm actually dying. And then I sat there, I was like, hold on. You have swam your whole life. You're not going to drown right now. But you start panicking. You're like, I'm exhausted. I can't catch my breath. And then I was like, get on your back and just float. Yeah. And just get yourself in.
Yeah.
And Leanne thought I did. Leanne and the girls thought I was dying.
One time I was at a triathlon and it was in the Bay in New Jersey. And I love to talk. And I'm just talking away. My captain of my beach patrol, my old beach patrol, happened to be there competing. So I'm having a conversation with him and we're talking. You know how they put everybody in stages?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, my mom comes over to me, who's at the race with me, and she goes, Eddie, and your stage is by your swim cap, like the color.
Yeah.
I'm like, yellow. My mom points and she goes, isn't that your stage right there? And I look and they're all like, they're gone. Like they've swam.
Oh my
they're
God.
like halfway to the buoy where they turn around for like a half-mile swim or something. And they're already like a quarter. And I go to my captain, and he knows me as an idiot. He's like, you again, Yeah. And I'm like, I'll see ya. And I run as fast as I can to the starting line, which is like 100 meters away. I sprint to there and I dive in the water and I sprint to like catch up to everybody. Oh. And then I get there and I'm like,
sucking air.
And I've got to do this whole race then. And I'm like, oh my God, I just destroyed myself in the first 3 minutes. So funny. My friend owns a place over in Hawaii, like this land actually right near Jaws. And he's like, did you go to my place? And I'm like, no. So he showed me on the map. He's like, look, I own all this land there. I go, why aren't you building? He goes, oh, it's so hard. Nobody wants to build because they break in and steal everything.
Oh, for real? Yeah. Dude, the house I'm obsessed with is Jamie O'Brien's house.
Because it's right near Pipe.
Oh, he's got like the baddest fucking house.
Yeah. I used to joke. We always wanted to go to the Volcom house. The Volcom house is where they have all the parties. And it's Jerry Lopez's old house. And Volcom, the surf company, bought it. And they put all their Groms and all their young surfers in there, especially during like, the winter months when everybody's surfing Pipe and all the Triple Crown over there. And I've watched all these videos of like life in the Volcom house. And I was like, God, if I was a kid, that would be like the place to be. All these hot chicks everywhere and bands
I bet
playing.
you just get lost in the, you'd never become like be a good surfer. You just get lost in partying balls.
Yeah, it just looks so fun. Like they have these like bands that play for free out on the deck, and you know, it's like the place to be. So we used to joke. I used to have this guy Alex Gray on my podcast. He was a Volcom surfer, and we'd be like, Alex, Volcom House. We want to go. We want to be like the old guys there. We just want to go and observe, like all my surfing buddies. And then when I did Surfer Bowl, I get off stage and like the head of the Volcom team comes over. He was an Aussie guy, and he's like, mate, you're fucking hilarious, mate. And they're all like, dude, fucking come back to the Volcom House. And I'm like, really? And they're like, yeah, we're gonna fucking party tonight. And I got my wife, she's like up in the hotel room in the bed. And I'm like, how do I blow my wife? I think our daughter was with us. And I'm like, how do I blow that? My daughter was with us. And I'm like, is that bad?
I've definitely tapped out. I've left my daughters to go party at a fraternity house before, and just be treated like a god. These kids are like, dude, you're the fucking legend, and you're just like, I know. What do you guys need to know?
I have one story I can't tell because the times, and another one. I was at Southwest Louisiana State doing a college show.
Yeah,
and afterwards. And I would party a lot with the kids. I used to love it. When I was younger, I used to love it. Yeah, I loved it.
And then one time these kids hired me to do their college, and they said, you know the reason we hired you, right? And I was like, no. And they're like, we've got DMT. We want to smoke DMT with you. And I was like, you got the wrong guy. And I've never partied. And then there was like a time where I was like, I think it was before, even before like cancel culture, but I was like, I feel like I'm too old to be around these people.
Yeah. There was a lot of that, but I still did it. The Southwest Louisiana State, I was like probably like maybe late 20s, early 30s. And these kids were like, after the show, they were like, and no offense to anyone that went to school there, but it's like deep South. Like I just wanted to get on my plane and get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
And they were like, hey, come on, we're going to go out and have some drinks. And I was like, all right, I'll just do it politically. Like,
yeah.
So I go, and they took me to like this like convenience store where people were playing cards. And we parked on the lawn. It was like,
man.
So then they said, come on, we're going to go to a bar now. So I went to a bar, and they lined up shots on the bar. And everybody's like, 20 kids, and there's 20 shots, clear alcohol. And I do it, and everybody does it with me. And I felt like I like was poisoned. Like I started burning, and I was like, what the fuck? And I'm like, what did you guys? And I seriously had this like fear of like that they poisoned me. And I go, what was it? They're like, that was grain alcohol, motherfucker. And
that doesn't taste well.
No, I did like a full shot of it.
Doesn't taste good at all.
And then I look at all these kids who did it, and I go, how did you all just do that? And the kid goes, we were drinking water. And I'm like,
Jesus.
Oh, great prank. So
got me.
Cut to full blackout. And like there are little, like when I say blackout, I don't mean like blackout, wake up. I've had that like probably twice in my life or three times.
You mean like a gray out?
Yeah, okay, gray out. Where I remember pieces, like I remember playing golf. I remember a barbecue. I remember just like roaming through a fraternity house. Then the kid the next day like called me or something, the student there, and he's like, man, that was the night of all nights. He's like, when we ran through that wall, like we went through a drywall, like we ran in the fraternity house, and it was like trashed, and then we just ran through a wall, like a whole bunch of us.
Man.
We cooked like creepy meat on a, they made a barbecue out of a shopping cart. And but here was the best. He's like, the golfing was hilarious. They lived across the lake from the dean's house. And I was teeing up golf balls and just hitting them at the dean's house. Just golf ball after. I go, come on. He's like, man, you must have hit like 50 golf balls at the dean's house. And he's like,
here you are with a beef against Dean Wormer, and you don't even go to school there. You're a grown man. Your kids are at the hotel. Fuck you, pig.
But every once in a while, I'll get like an email from a kid from that school that's like, remember that?
I partied with this company called Palantir, and
what do they do?
They do like cybersecurity, I think. I'm not really certain. They do like security for the United States.
And you did a corporate for them?
I did a corporate for them, and I just ended up partying balls with these motherfuckers. And they were like, and they're all, I'm sure they're all billionaires now, all those kids, but they're all just like, Silicon Valley kids that all lived in Maryland, working for the government. And they had heard me on Elliot in the morning. They're like, hey, we want you to just come and tell the machine story. And so I was like, deal. I showed up. And they're like, you want a drink? I was like, of course. And then all these kids are millionaires. And we just go in. I tell the machine story. And they're like, awesome. Let's go upstairs and smoke cigars. And they like have Cuban cigars. I mean, it was just like a dream. It was like so much fun. And then
But where were you? You were
in Maryland.
But where? Where did they have the show?
At their office.
Oh, that's
They just
awesome.
brought me right into their office. And they were like, hey, we'll introduce you to all the people. Took me around to all the people that ran the company or whatever. It was awesome. And then I brought that company up the other day, and Nadav, who's with, for Two Bears, One Cave, Nadav was like, Palantir is like my dream company. I
don't know what they are. What do they do?
They're like, I don't know what they do. Do you know what they do, Halston? Cybersecurity or something? They helped me when I had a stalker. And, maybe this is off the record. But I've had a few stalkers. I can imagine. I get some really high end people that get obsessed with me. You're like, oh, yeah.
I don't get any. I mean, I've had like some weirdos. I had one that was really weird. That he was nice and he was funny. And I'd have him he'd come to my show. We came to one show in Minneapolis and he was like really funny and got so fucked up. I put him in a phone booth on stage and then he started smoking pot in the phone booth while he was in there. And he was like the hit of the show. And then after the show, he was like making everyone laugh. And I brought him on the bingo bus and he was really funny. And then he got weird. He got like, I know where you live. I know your wife's name. And he did. He like knew my address and he's like, I'm going to kill you. And I kept telling him, you can hear it on the podcast. It was like, ha, ha, ha. And then at one point you hear me go, fucking stop. And I went and he kept doing it. I go, if you do it one more time, I literally told him like afterwards, I go, if you make a joke about that again, I go, I'll let you know. He's like, I'm coming to your house. I'm going to kill you in your sleep. I go like this. I go, I'm not going to call like security. But I go, I'm going to kill you. Cause I was like, how can I like scare? Like I knew he was joking but he thought it was so funny. But
he thought to really commit to it.
It got to the point where I was like, this guy's maybe mentally ill to some point. So I was like, maybe I got to out scare him. So I was like, I hope you come to my house because I'll fucking kill you. I'll murder you.
Oh,
well, cut to, I went back to Minneapolis like maybe 6 months later or something. And I get a tweet that says, if you show up in Minneapolis, you won't live to see 2018. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, and I call someone that knows him and I'm like, is he? And they're like, yeah, he's fucking weird and blah, blah, blah. And like a week later, he killed himself.
Jesus.
And that's when I got a little weirded out. And my partner on my Wadcast podcast used to be he was a SWAT team guy. And I was like, dude, he's like, you got to get a gun. And I'm like, I'm not getting a gun. He's like, you need to protect your family. You need to have a gun at your house. And I'm like, I'm not getting a gun. He's like, then get a dog. I'm like, I got 3 dogs. Well, 2 at the time. And he's like, you got to get the right kind of dog. So we did that.
What kind of dog?
Well, I was going to get a Belgian Malinois.
I think that's what Bernie Schaub got and then had to give it back.
Well,
because it was like too fucking intense of a dog.
That's what's happened. So here's the funny stuff. I know a bunch of Navy SEALs from CrossFit and everything. And this one guy was like, I know this guy who trains dogs for the SEALs. You need to get this. So I call this guy and I'm like, hey, I want to get one of your Malinois. And he's like, all right. He's like, where do you live? And I'm like, up in Malibu. And he's like, okay. He's like, my dogs go for like $100,000. And I'm like, did you just say $100,000?
Yeah, that's the one. That's the kind. Yeah.
And I said, did you just say a dog that lives like 12 years? And I was like, I was looking for, you have any like mutts?
I'll tell you what, I was going to splurge and spend $2,000.
No, I really thought, because he's going to train them, I thought 10,000 was justifiable because they sell like Frenchies for 5,000. And if this thing is like trained to the hilt. And so then I found another guy that
it would be cool to have a dog where you're like, go check the door. And he's like, okay.
If you see the shit Malinois do, I just saw one that runs up the street, catches a thing, does a backflip, lands. And I'm not joking. I'll show you the video.
Yeah.
I was like, this is cool. Then after talking to enough trainers and everything, because this was like I researched this for like a year, and they were like, the only problem, the prey instinct of Malinois, I've got a 2-year-old right now. They're like, your kids are wrestling sometime. It might see them as prey. It might attack your kid.
Jesus.
And I was like,
not for $100,000.
And I was like, I'm not risking it. So I have cattle dogs that are really good, really well-trained, really protective and everything. I started researching on all these ranch sites. I found this dog called a McNabb dog.
Donovan?
It's this dog.
It's big, it's black, it's slow.
I almost brought it here today.
It's good in the pocket.
It's only 16 weeks old, but I was like, I can't bring a puppy to his new house. But I just see it like this right here. They're like super trainable. But I Googled it the other day, and one of the things in the main thing, it says these dogs are known to run 100 miles in a day with working cattle.
Oh my God.
Now it's the biggest nightmare ever. Like my wife has to walk in the morning. I have to take it out. I take my little kid's motorcycle and I run it beside me. And then I take it on a bike ride later. This dog it's 16 weeks old and it's doing like 10 miles a day. And it's still like doing laps around our house. And it's like, they're like supposedly like smarter border collies. Jesus. And I just wanted to be like protective, but also nice with the kids.
Yeah.
And it's
we got bull mastiffs, and the first one we got was so lazy that we were like, this is the dog.
Is that the one that needed like 42 surgeries?
5 surgeries, 4 legs, 5 surgeries. And she was perfect. And then we got another dog to keep her young. And this dog's a fucking psychopath.
Ours was the opposite. We got our dog. We have a 12 and 13-year-old. We got the puppy to hopefully keep the others. It did the opposite. It aged them.
Oh.
Like in the last 16 weeks, my dogs have gone like, they're like into retirement. They're like,
oh, Izzy, someone had the funniest joke. They go, I got a dog for protection, which is great unless you break into my house with a ball. I forget whose joke that was. That was a good joke. And so, but that's Izzy. If you break into my house with a ball, she's like, oh, cool, let's play catch.
Why? And tell that on the show.
and then we got this, and then Priscilla died, and Izzy was by herself.
Oh, Priscilla died. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it was tough.
How long ago?
June. No.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
June or July, maybe. Wow, fuck. No, it can't be a year ago. It's got to be like maybe October. I don't know. Yeah, it was sucked, man. It was sucked. But we got another dog to kind of keep another bull mastiff, most beautiful dog in the world. But man, this dog is dumb as fuck and pisses on everything.
Oh, Jesus.
Leanne is livid. Yeah. She's like, Joe, he just gets up and just stares at her and just lifts his leg and pisses on the couch. She's like, what the fuck?
Pre-kids, women love dogs.
Yes.
Post-kids, women hate dogs because their priority shifts to the kids. And like kids are enough trouble that the dog is then a problem.
I think my wife likes the dog more than the kids right now.
How old are your kids?
Fucking 16 and 14. And we are in the thick of it.
Really?
Like just everything. Cause
you're scaring me so badly because I think I'm in hell.
It gets, man, you know, there's a moment right now where you say, I can't imagine that my daughter would not like me.
Oh, don't tell me that.
And then one day they just do not like you.
Oh my God. That's
like they don't like you. They don't want to be around you.
That's my worst nightmare.
They go like, ugh, gross.
That's my worst nightmare.
Right now I have them, they have to give me 100 hugs before I leave. And it's been a week now and they still have 99 left. Like they just don't want to hug you. They don't want to be near you.
I say to my wife sometimes, I'm like, will you just call your dad and tell him you love him and like hug him and like go see him? And she's like, why? I'm like, because I want my daughter to always do that for me. Like, I don't want to think and to see you not like my wife moved to Australia away from her family.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't let my daughter ever do that. Like,
Georgia, she's getting ready, looking at colleges. And everywhere she wants to go is so far away. And I'm like, why? She goes, I just want to be far away from here. And I'm like, why would you want, what's wrong with you?
I drive by Pepperdine every day. It's right down the street from us.
Oh, it's great.
And I point at it and I go, that's where you're going to college, Izzy, and you're going to live at home.
I want Georgia. I go, why don't you just go to community college, get good grades, go to like spend one more year here. Like, I'll don't worry. I'll pay for everything. Like, yeah, she wants to go to either Oregon or Boulder or two choices, or somewhere in Maine. And I was like, why would you want to go to fucking Maine?
As long as it's like a major city where you can fly in and out of, it's fun. But like when they have to drive 3 hours to the airport, and you're never going to see them.
Why the fuck? I go, why would you, like, nothing against Maine, but Maine's like, anyone who lives in Maine knows it's not the Stephen King novel you've read.
I've performed in Maine.
I've performed in Maine also. Maine has the scariest people I've ever seen in my life.
It's like West Virginia, but on the coast.
There are great places in Maine. Don't get me wrong. Beautiful places. But then there's also not.
That we don't have to talk nice about. You're never going to be big there because Bob Marley has it cornered.
I did Maine recently with Shane Torres. It was me and Shane did Maine. I forget where in Maine. It was Portland, Maine. We did Portland, Maine, and fucking awesome show.
Bob Marley has that place down.
God, man, he does.
Like it's its own country.
It's such a smart move, man. Like, think about it. Like, how much money do you think he probably makes more money than the average comic in just doing?
Oh, way more.
Yeah.
I worked with him once. I did a college with him in.
Bob Marley, for people that don't know, is not the Bob Marley you're thinking of.
No, and he's hilarious.
He's one of the funniest comics I've ever seen.
Hilarious.
He can tell a story and he's a great storyteller, and he's so talented at like making you see the characters in the story. Like, he's so good. But he grew up in Maine. He was a big deal in Maine, and then came out to LA, did a bunch of stuff, did a lot of stuff.
Had a lot going on.
And then just moved back to Maine.
It's kind of like Justin McKinney did the same thing to New Hampshire.
Is he in New Hampshire?
He's in New Hampshire, and look, like now the way this is and the internet, you don't need to be anywhere. There's no reason to be in Hollywood at all.
There's reasons to be in Hollywood.
I don't think so. Like it is if you want to pursue acting.
If you want to make movies and if you want to make movies, you got to be in Hollywood, I think.
Yes, and not if you're big enough.
No, not if you're big enough, but if you're at where we are, if you are interested in making movies, you kind of got to be here. I mean, honestly, it hadn't. I don't think so during the pandemic, but I think when things open up, I think Hollywood will pick back up pretty heavily, and because I think they have a lot of money to make up, and there's a lot of projects that have been just sitting at bay. I think you got to be here for podcasting and shit like this. You don't need to be.
I just love, I love the Zoom podcast. I tried to move as soon as the pandemic happened. I was like, let's move to a ski resort. We'll just live at a ski resort and it'll be great. And my wife just shot me down at every turn. And I was like, come on. And I like land. I want like 30 acres.
Oh,
I want property. I want to live and like build like a compound, like a real, like
I've wanted a compound my entire life.
I went the other day, my buddy bought a house. I'm friends with this guy. He's a maniac. His name's Hunter McIntyre. And he is, I love Hunter. He's one of my best friends. He lives up in Malibu. He is the 7-time world champion in obstacle course racing. He's one of the fittest guys in the world.
Obstacle course racing.
He's 215 pounds. He runs a marathon under 3 hours. He qualified for Boston this year. He runs I commentated a race he ran in, a 10K. He ran 5-minute miles the whole way. And he's 215 pounds. He deadlifted 500 pounds and then ran a 5-minute mile. He's a freak.
Wait, is this guy have a YouTube channel or something?
Yeah.
Wait, have I seen this guy?
Yeah, probably. And he's always on my stories.
I think I follow this fucking guy.
So he bought it. He's an idiot. Of like all the comedians we know, he's a bigger idiot than all of them. Like I'm trying to compare him to someone.
Maybe I don't know.
He's my new Jason.
He's a fucking interesting looking dude.
Yeah. So
Hunter McIntyre, I might have to give him a follow.
So anyway.
I like this guy already. Subscribed.
So
breaking a sub 3-hour marathon. Is he a fucking big dude too?
Strong as fuck. So he broke the Murph world record, did it in 34:10 without partitioning. Anybody who doesn't know, Murph is it's in honor of Michael Murphy, who died. He was a lone survivor. He was one of the guys that stayed and kept shooting and died. And so they dedicated a workout to him, which is a run a mile, and then it's 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 air squats, run a mile with a 20-pound weight vest on. And Most people break it up and do 5, 10, 15. So 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 15 squats, 20 rounds of that. But
so they run the mile and then go 5, 10, 15.
Yeah, 5, 10, 15. And that's how I usually do it. Hunter did it unpartitioned, which is way harder, way slower. You do the 100 pull-ups, then the 200 push-ups, then the 300 air squats. So, and the weight vest makes it a whole different world. I've done it with and without the weight vest.
I had panic attacks wearing a weight vest.
Yeah. Well, imagine running that last mile with the weight. It's like brutal. Anyway, he did it and he trained for it, did it in 34:10. And he's just a freak of nature.
Jesus.
Donald Trump Jr. did it and said he does CrossFit apparently.
For real?
For real. Said he did Murph on his Instagram. He goes, this was a few years ago. He was like, hey, had a tough one this year. Only did it in didn't wear a weight vest and only did it in 34:17 or something. It was some time that he could like a pro time.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, you're a fucking liar. And the comments just went
man.
Bullshit. And then it was funny. It was divided. It was so partisan. It was half of them were like, you're the man, DJ, DT Jr. And then the other ones are like, you fucking liar. There's no way you can do that. I see your 10K time. You can't run a fucking.
I see your 10K time.
Well, you can figure it out by somebody's, if he said he did it in 34 minutes and his 10K time, he's running 10-minute miles. Well, there's 20 minutes in this 2 miles. So now you're doing what's called Sydney, which is the middle portion, in 14 minutes. You can't do, that's not possible. So it was a lie. And then sure enough, he deleted the post. And it's like, why? You don't lie to the CrossFit community is so nerdy.
Yeah.
But back to the compound. So Hunter just bought a place. He lives in a compound in Malibu that is fucking amazing.
With a bunch of other people?
With these two guys own this compound where they have multiple houses and they let people stay there.
Is it on the beach?
It's up Latigo Canyon, up on this mountain, and it's amazing. And he can do all his training up there, but he decided he wanted to buy a house at altitude for training.
Yeah.
So he bought this house up near Big Bear. And I went up there Saturday with my other friend, Bobby, and Crazy Bobby, who's a nutcase too. So we drive up there and we're driving around and it's a weird town, Crestline, California. And it's weird.
Yeah.
And he goes, I met this lady at the coffee shop, my friend, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, she your friend? He's like, yeah, I met her. I'm like, she's not your friend. You just met her. He's like, let's go over to her house. So we drive up this mountain that during snow, there's no way you'll ever get up or down it.
Yeah.
We get to her house and it's the best view I've ever seen in my life. It's incredible. Up on top of this mountain with this view of this lake. And not a house to be seen anywhere. She owns, and I go in and I meet this woman, and she's this older woman, and we start talking. And there were a lot of crosses in the yard. And when I say crosses, I don't mean just like the one you put over your bed. I mean ones you could put Jesus on,
really,
like that big. And when I say a lot, more than 5.
Fuck.
And with like the drapes hanging from it.
Yeah.
My Bobby goes, that one's got the footboard. I'm like, that one still has the nails in it, So she's giving us a tour of the house and it's all carved wood that her husband did. And he passed away years ago. Coming to this big bedroom and she goes, now this is where we did the Bible study. This is where the Bible study was all the time. She goes, we'd have 43 people in this room. So we go down, we go through a secret door where the bookshelf moves. We go in. She goes, now this is the real fun. We go into the gun room and, multiple guns. The guy owned so many guns and she was showing us these guns that I had never heard of. And then she goes, now this is the room where we made the bullets. And so then she goes,
wow.
She shows us, she goes, so we do Bible study there, then target practice out there. And I'm like, I'm in Waco.
This is legit. That is the recipe for fucking Ruby Ridge.
Yes. And I'm in there. Hunter, Bobby, not thinking twice about it. And I'm looking at them like, do you know where we are right now? This is where it goes down.
I got obsessed with Ruby Ridge for a little bit.
And I'm like, Hunter, you moved into this town. There was a church every 10 feet. I'm like, do you know who you're living with? I'm like, you are in that town. We went to the grocery store, not a mask on anyone.
Oh, no. Yeah. So wait, did he move there to train and he's living there now?
He goes before the season starts and he trains at altitude.
CrossFit season?
OCR, he races these races called High Rocks, and he'll do like Tough Mudder and Spartan races.
Oh, those obstacle. I was so confused when you said obstacle courses.
But he's an idiot. He just went on a Spartan. The guy that owns Spartan, Joe DeSena.
Yeah, I know that guy.
He just went to. He was just on Rogan.
Oh, that's how I know
Joe
that
calls
guy.
him and has him do like dumb shit, and he has him come. He went to his house to wrestle an Olympian, and I'm like, "You wrestled in high school?" He goes, "Yeah, but I'm heavier than this guy, and I'm in better shape." Watch the YouTube. He gets beaten like a minute.
Really?
This wrestler just fucking.
He's only got 7,000 subscribers. I can't wait to fucking watch some of his videos.
His Instagram, he's got a lot. He's really, really funny.
What's his Instagram? I got to follow him on Instagram.
I think it's at Hunt the Sheriff.
He
did the beer mile. So we did the beer mile.
But someone was telling me about, what is that?
So you chug a beer, run a quarter mile, chug a beer, run a quarter mile, chug a beer, run a quarter mile, chug a beer, run a quarter mile. I thought I could do it in 8 minutes. It took me 10:55 the first time. The second time I did it in front of my in-laws and my wife's grandparents, and I puked in front of all of them.
How do you spell McIntyre again?
McIntyre.
McIn.
No, MC.
I found him. Hunter Sheriff.
Hunt the Sheriff, yeah.
So tell me about the beer mile, because this is an interesting one. Keep going.
So you chug a beer, run a quarter mile, chug a beer, run a quarter mile, chug a beer, run a quarter mile, chug a beer, run a quarter mile. It's got to be 5.3 or 5.1, I think, which is like Budweiser. Some people say bottle, some say cans. There's a world record. I had Corey Melton, the world record holder, on my podcast. What do you think he did it in?
Okay. I'm going to say 6 minutes.
Okay. What do you think? How fast? Try 4:15. Look it up. I think it's 4:15. It might be 4.
That's fucking
12.
insane.
Insane.
So I'll tell you I can tell you my beer. Beer.
I can tell you, I tried it and it took me 10:55. Hunter swore he could break 6 minutes. So we went to Malibu High School.
I wonder what I could do.
He ran the first lap in 60 seconds. He chugged his beer in 8 seconds. His second lap, he didn't even make it a quarter of the way around and started puking.
Are you serious? I wouldn't puke. I see. We did.
If you puke, you get an extra lap.
Oh, fuck that. Me and Matt Fulshrine went and did, they had this bar run in Des Moines. Was it Des Moines? I think it was Des Moines. It might've been Omaha. And it was Des Moines. And they were like, we're doing a bar run. It's a bar crawl. It's a 5K. And we're like, oh, cool. So I tell Matt, I go, this will be fun. I think you run for the first bar. You've got to have a beer at every bar, I'm guessing. I saw something like this on Man vs. Food. Yeah. So we get there and I go, well, we might as well have a fucking cold beer before we start. I'm like, well, who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
We're just running to get another beer.
Yeah.
We ended up having like 6 beers each before we even started the race.
Oh, Jesus.
And we get in a thing and we're like, so what's the first bar we're stopping at? And they're like, what do you mean? We're like, where's the first bar? Like, wait, should I just follow people? And they're like, no, this is just a 5K. We drank like 6 beers each and there was no bar crawl. It was just a 5K that ended at a bar and everyone was going to drink at the bar. And so we did it fucking wasted.
Yeah, I did the Las Vegas Marathon drunk. And
really?
Shit-faced. I think I've told you this story. I was in Vegas.
Las Vegas Marathon's one I would like to do. It happens at night, right?
No, you start in the morning. But
I'm thinking of the Rock and Roll Marathon.
That's what I did. Yeah.
I thought it happened at night.
No, I started because I was drinking all night. Like one of those never went home. Stayed up. So I was in a diner at like 5 a.m. asking people what they were doing, why they were all dressed. And they're like, we were on the marathon. And I started talking shit. And then this guy's like, yeah, you couldn't fucking. I'm like, I'll bet you. And my buddy's like, go do it. So I talked to a doctor about it. He's like, you're an idiot. You could have died.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing I always surprises me is that you can actually die if you go do a marathon hunt. Like it's not.
Yeah.
It's not smart.
Somebody dies in like every marathon. There's like one person that dies of a heart attack in every one.
I got to mile 22 and I went, now I know why people train for these because my legs are seized up and my quads were seizing up into they were like seizing up. And I was like, oh, that's why you train for these.
I had that the other day on a bike ride. My quads seized up because I just rode too long and I didn't bring enough electrolytes. I seized up and I just like rode to the side of the road. I was coming back and I lay in the like bushes hoping my wife might drive by because I was like trying to get them to unlock and I'm like, oh fuck. And I've had that happen like a million times and I'm just like, and I'm like, I can't get home right now.
It is summer, which means bird dogs are back. If you don't know what bird dogs are, they are the go-to summer short, in my opinion. They're all in one. I get up in the morning, I put on my bird dogs. I go out to the gym because they have this great inseam. Great liner. I'll work out on the treadmill. Get off the treadmill, jump in the pool with my bird dogs. They're a bathing suit. Get out of the pool. They drive so damn fast. We throw on a nice collared shirt. Your bird dogs match with them perfectly. A nice white Oxford, in my opinion. I've got 2 pairs of bird dogs I put in rotation nonstop. They are the seersuckers and the American flag. They're my favorite go-to short in the summer because you grill with them on, you have a cold beer with them on. Hell, if you drink enough, you'll pass out with them on. And here's what's great. Bird dogs, if you go to birddogs.com and enter the code BERT, they're going to throw in a free bird dog whistle tip football. That's like those little Nerf footballs we had when we were kids. It's the must-have beach toy or the must-have barbecue toy or the must-have backyard toy. Even if you have girls, boom, there I said it. I raised my girls throwing footballs. That's right. That's birddogs.com. Use the promo code BERT and boom, a free bird dog whistle tip football with your pair of bird dogs. You will not take these things off. I promise. Sweet. Tell me about what's your training look like? What's an average day look like for you?
It's always really random and different.
I'll tell you my day today, and then you tell me your day. Like give me an average day. Today, I woke up legit hungover for the first time in a long time. Legit hungover. We partied. We did a big Easter party here yesterday, and I started drinking at like 10:30, 11:30, and partied all the way until 11 o'clock at night. I woke up at 6 feeling, piss sweat coming out of me. Came over, worked out with my trainer at 7 to 8, did a podcast at 9, did a conference call. Oh, no, I'm telling you my day. But my training was, and then I'm going to run tonight when I get home, I'm going to run. But my training was 2K row, we're doing boxing, just fight training. And then 2K row, fight training, and then 10 push-ups, 10 dips, 10 push-ups, 10 dips, 10 push-ups, 10 dips, shoulder presses, and then what are these called? Those when you have the weight and you're doing a push-up, but you pull it up to your body. So like renegade rows or something. Rows,
yeah.
10 renegade rows, 10 squats 3 times or 4 times maybe, and then close out with 300 rows in under a minute and push presses.
It's way more than I do.
And so it's a fucking beast. Sweat out all my impurities. Felt amazing. But that's what I'm doing that every day.
You don't feel overtrained?
I feel very overtrained, actually.
You are.
I feel really overtrained. Today, my forearm started hurting.
Your cortisol levels are what I'm worried about.
Yeah. I'm very
tendinitis, and if you're not doing if your extensors and your flexors. So your flexors, everything that you do gripping will create muscle right here.
I'm definitely not going to drink tonight because I'm really overtrained.
Yeah. Well, overtraining is like you got to just worry about your sleep. You got to worry about I'm very careful about my training.
So then tell me about what does an average day look like for you?
Every day's different. Some days I might do like a Wendler thing where I'll go 5, 5, 5, 5, 3, 3, 3, 2, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1.
Is that for weight training?
And I'll just do squats, and that might be I'll do that, and I might do a small run. Yeah. Like a 2 miles easy.
Yeah.
And then the next day might be 10 100-meter dashes. But I'll also do work on my shoulders or something. And then the next day might be a 3-hour-long bike ride. And then the next day might be I go surfing, and then I'll do a CrossFit workout. It'll be a 15 12 9 of power cleans, burpees, and pull-ups.
Jesus.
So I'm very strategic about not overtraining, because I used to try to do 2 workouts a day every day.
I do 2 workouts a day. I'm definitely overtraining.
Yeah. And so
I'm still fat as fuck.
Well, that's probably because your cortisol levels are through the roof.
Yeah. I'm not sleeping at all.
Yeah. That your cortisol, get your cortisol tested. Yeah. Did you ever get blood work done?
Yeah, I get blood work done.
Yeah.
But not lately.
Did you ever get a Dexa scan?
No. What's that?
Dexa scan will scan your whole body, tell you like where your fat is, where your.
Oh, I know where it is. I don't need to scan to tell me.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. You'd
Really?
be surprised. Oh, fuck yeah. I found like I had some in my hips and I was like, how do I fucking fatten my hips? And it's just good to know your bone density. It's a really good thing to do a DEXA scan. Body Spec does them. And then do Inside Tracker will do your blood work and tell you like what you need to eat more of, what you need to eat less of.
They're going to be like less wine.
But you'd be surprised how much you need, like sodium, magnesium, potassium. Like there's stuff like that people are missing out on so much. Like the sodium, magnesium, potassium thing is like, and just alcohol's a fucking killer.
That's
it's a killer.
That's why I'm training this hard, is that I can't, it's kind of confusing, but I don't want to lose my lifestyle. I like my lifestyle. I have fun.
But alcohol, I believe, breaks down the protein synthesis. So like when look, at our age, it's hard to build muscle. It's fucking all about retention of muscle unless you're taking testosterone. So it's really, really difficult.
I'm building awesome muscle right now.
Yeah. I
added an inch to my arms and my shoulders today. I said to Leanne, I like flexed my shoulders. I go, I have shoulder muscles. Yeah. I have legit shoulder muscles. They'll all go away
if you haven't done a lot of weight training, it's easy. Oh, okay.
Like right away. Yeah. Just going from zero to here.
Yeah. See, I've done so much of my, like, it's hard for me to put on like any muscle at all.
Yeah.
Like all I have, mine's just like maintenance and like trying to retain, like I've got this. So I live in the mountains where it's like, I have these trails that are just unbelievable behind my house, thousands and thousands of acres of trails, like horse trails and mountain biking. And so I'll go out there and I have all these loops. Like I have a 1.5 mile loop. I have a 3 mile loop. I have a 5 mile loop.
I'm so jealous.
And I'll go run these. And I have a 5 mile straight up the Saddle Peak Mountain. And I have this one called the Bulldog, which is a 15 mile loop that we do twice. It's a 30 mile loop. Jeez. And you have to go up a thing called the elevator where you climb about 3,000 feet. I'm sorry, not 3,000, 2,500 feet in 3 miles.
Oh my God.
And it is brutal. And if you do the Bulldog twice, which sometimes we do, you got to do it twice. And it's just, and then there's one up and one down, and it goes into Malibu Creek State Park. So, which I live like right on the edge of, and Hunter lives on the other side of it. I can actually like mountain bike to him. And he ran the 68 mile with me. I ran the 68 mile run. I was the only non-professional. Tommy Hackenbrook, who was number 2 in the CrossFit Games, we had like a Navy SEAL dropped out.
Really?
Yes.
So what got you into these ultra marathons?
Because
that seems like such a odd specific thing people get into, and then that's the only thing they do, other than like Cam Hanes.
I hardly trained for it. I would run like 3 miles every other day, and then on like weekends I did like a 5 miler a bunch of times. Then I did a 10 miler. Then I did a 15, then I did a 30, and then I was ready. Hunter told me, he's like, he's like, you're training too much. He's like, you want to be fresh. You don't want to be hurt. You want to be fine.
Yeah. That's the one thing I feel like with running these days is I get so quickly like my body, and I just am not giving myself any time to recover. So I'm trying to run 2,000 miles this year, and that's
bad on your body.
I know. Well, it actually is bad on your body. And especially when you're 240, it's like
that's why I still run sprints. I go to the track and I'll run ladders like 100 to 200 to 300, 400, maybe 500, 600, then 500, 400, 300, 200, 100. That's my workout. And I'm running at like 3/4 speed.
I love that. I love those. I do this app called Aptiv, and they have the best runs. Akeem's the best, but it's like one of my favorite ones are like, he's like, are
your fans gonna just hate that we talked working out the whole time?
No, I don't give not disrespectfully, guys. I don't really give a fuck. It's like, what do you want me to talk about? Cancel culture? Like, fuck. That's all anyone talks about. Any podcast you do is cancel culture, and I'm so tired of it that I stopped looking at the feed on my Google because it's just the fucking.
I just ignore it always because people are like, "Aren't you?" I'm like, "No, it's great. I love."
Here's the truth is it makes comedy fun again.
Yeah, it's fun to navigate.
We get to take chances. I want to get back on stage. I want to find out where these fucking lines in the sand are. I want to push the boundaries.
Yeah.
It's why you got into comedy in the first place.
What are you going to cancel me from? I have nothing to be canceled from.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, whatever. I like, but this stuff like this fascinates me, and especially because I think it's like one of the things that I don't think I know it about you, but I don't think a lot of people know just how active you are.
Well, to answer your question of why I did the 68 miles, because I was like, I kept joking. I'm like, we should run one more mile to make it like 69.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, you're a child. And I was like, yes, I am. There's a mountain range called with Santa Monica Mountains, but if you start the Palisades and go, it's called the Backbone Trail. It goes from like Temescal, Will Rogers Park, goes from there to Point Magoo. And so
wow.
I was in Malibu during the fires when it swept through and burned our entire town down. And I watched it. It never got into my neighborhood. It just came like to the edge of my neighborhood. And I watched the firemen. I would stand on the mountain. I never left. I stayed during the whole fire. They evacuated everyone. And me and Hunter and Bobby, we were all there. And we watched, and I would watch these firemen, and everybody gave them shit because a lot of houses burned, but no one died. Like 2 people died.
Yeah.
And that was a fluke. These firemen are phenomenal, and the shit they do is amazing. And I was watching them fly, and my one buddy's a pilot. He's like, these pilots, they're coming through the canyons, like drive through Malibu Canyon. There were guys flying helicopters and planes, big fucking planes full of Phos-Chek chemicals that they drop, that red shit, coming through these canyons. And you're like, and he's like, dude, those are fighter pilots. Those are old fighter pilots to become firemen. He goes, he's a pilot. He goes, I would never fly with these winds.
Never.
He's like, and then you see these guys with bulldozers. The firemen were telling me, they're the craziest fuckers in the fire department. They go in these like bulldozers and they go up where the fire's going on and they plow like roads to stop the fire from burning. But they go like, they're chained to each other. Like one will go like off a cliff practically down it. And then the other one will pull it back up so it doesn't like fall off. And just, I'm watching these dudes and I'm talking to them and I'm all day long. And I was like, dude, we got to do something for these guys. So I was like, let's raise money. And I was like, Hunter and I had always talked about like, let's run the whole backbone. Let's run the whole backbone. And it's, I think it's 17,000 feet of climbing. So that's the hard part that people don't understand.
Not straight.
No,
just like you go up, down. So throughout the whole thing.
Throughout the thing, I think there were about 7 climbs that were like 2,000 feet. And people don't understand that.
I do. I definitely do.
And the climbs were as bad on the backside coming down. That's where you get hurt.
Yeah.
And your knees are just going, the whole way down the back. I loved the uphills because I wasn't in pain.
Yeah.
The downhills are where I was in tons of pain. So, you're like in ultras, most guys, you take a strong, fast hike up the hill and then you run the downhills and run the straights.
Yeah.
And Hunter, there was 18 of us that did it. Hunter was running to like the front, to the back, like doing loops. Like,
I would love to have that much control over my body.
Yeah.
Where you're just dialed into your body. I've been there before in my life, like much younger, where I would run and I'd run up it and run down it and just feel great.
Yeah.
And then run home and then barely be sweating.
I don't think I ever felt great. But this one guy, Tommy Hackenbrook, who played in the national championship. He played for Utah.
Yeah.
And he ended up becoming number 2 in the CrossFit games. He was with me the entire time. Didn't bitch once. I made up. But the funny thing is, out of the 18 that started, only 5 of us finished.
Really?
And yeah, everybody was dropping like flies. And I had listened to David Goggins' book on tape.
Can't hurt me.
While I was training. And when he talked about stealing souls, every time we had 4 places to stop to get like refuel and fill our water.
Yeah.
And every time we'd stop, that's where people drop out. They're like, I'm done.
Yes.
And as soon as one of these professional racers would drop, I was just like, I just stole your fucking soul, dude. I was like, because I knew from the beginning, I was like, I'll finish this if I have to crawl.
My mentality when I do anything like that is just do not stop motion.
Yeah.
I would not take breaks. I was just like, do not stop. The second you stop motion, your body's like, okay, why are we going to start this up again? I've done so many of those stupid fucking things, and I don't know why I'm driven towards them, whether it's like the fucking Tough Mudder or like I just get driven to them where I go, I don't know. My dad would run marathons when I was a kid, and I always loved the camaraderie of after the race.
Yeah, it's cool. It's fun.
Really cool. I remember I took Jim Florentine to run a what? A half marathon. And he was like, he just didn't get it. He, by the way, bought brand new shoes, brand new running shorts. And he was just like, huh. And then he did it. He bailed halfway through, went to a Holiday Inn, took a shit, jumped back into the race, and then placed in his age group. Okay.
Is he that fit?
No, he only ran like 4 miles out of it. Like he ran and then took a shit and then jumped back in the race. And like, they were like, yeah, cheering him on. He's like, oh, I did good. And so it's interesting because anyone who knows races,
I love Florentine.
This is what's really interesting. Jim, however long he ran at the beginning, he passed all the marker spaces. So like if you run races, for the most part, they can tell you what your splits are, like where you're at.
Yeah.
But in this race, they only had markers for like the first 6 miles. And the rest of it, there were no markers. And I don't think Jim ever intended to cheat at all. But if you were trying to cheat, you couldn't do it better than Jim did it. He ran past each of the 6 ones, and then bounced into a Holiday Inn, had breakfast, took a shit, and then jumped back in the race right before the last marker, and then fucking placed. They're like, this guy fucking killed it. His first 6 miles wasn't that great, but he really sped up towards the end. And then we had beers afterwards, and he was like, oh, this is cool as shit.
Yeah, that's what the fun of it is. And when we started, we started at like, I think 1 a.m. Like I organized the entire thing. We started at 1 a.m. It's pitch black.
That's fun as fuck.
We had to sneak into like up this road that was closed because we couldn't get into Will Rogers State Park. So we had to like sneak into the entrance. We didn't have permits to do this. And going up the first hill, everybody like, so my whole thing was, I want to like walk this at a fast pace to make sure I finish within 24 hours. My goal. Yeah. All these guys start fucking running. And I'm like, I don't want to be left alone. It's dark out. So
a great motivator.
So I start running, we're wearing headlamps and I'm just like, I'm staying with the pack. And I had another friend that was like, I'm going to walk it. And I'm like, all right, watch out for the fucking mountain lions.
Good luck.
Yeah. And so in the back of my head, I was always like, if I ever fall back, I know he's back there. So I've got this like stopgap.
Oh
like,
yeah. I can see myself running the whole thing just to not get lost.
So I knew how we were running pace wise and everything. I knew we were going to get to what's called, I think it's Yerba Buena. No, not Yerba Buena, past Yerba Buena, which is up in Ventura. I knew, like we ran through LA County into Ventura County.
Oh my God.
I knew that at about 6 o'clock, it was going to get dark, 5:30. And I was like, we still are going to have like 30 miles left. And I was like, I don't want to do a marathon. I'm going to do a marathon in the dark. I don't want to be alone.
I want to do a marathon.
And I lost the whole pack at 17 miles. My knees started like fucking hurting. And I was like practically crying in pain coming down this hill.
Yeah.
And it was like 7 miles down the saddle. And I'm like, I lost everybody. And I'm like, oh no, I'm going to do the end and just be so fearful that I'm mountain lion bait, So then I had to go up the elevator. I go up the elevator and I just like charged it, no pain. It's kind of straight for a while. I get to this thing and they're waiting for me. Hunter and Tommy Hackenbrook are waiting for me. And they're like, hey, your kid and her school are waiting for you at like Canaan Dune Road. They're waiting for you. You got to fucking pick up the pace because they're only going to be there for like a short period.
Oh shit.
And your kid is waiting. They got signs and everything. We got a call from your wife. You better fucking motor. And I'm like, I'm in so much fucking pain. And Hunter just grabs like a handful of ibuprofen and shoves it in my mouth. And he's like, take this, let's go. And like, I think I forget at that stage, we might've had In-N-Out or something. Like I just housed like 2 In-N-Out double. And I'm like, let's fucking go. I got to get there for my kid.
My kid.
And I ran like so fast. Like I'm just on Hunter's tail the whole time running that. And so I got to the kid and I was like, ibuprofen. I don't take a drug ever.
Yeah.
Ever. Don't Tylenol, ibuprofen, nothing. I take like natural shit. I was like, this shit's amazing. I was like, I feel like
no wonder they don't let Barry Bonds use steroids. If this is how ibuprofen feels.
I was like, everyone's like, how'd you finish the race? I'm like, have you ever taken ibuprofen? It's fucking amazing.
Ibuprofen is the greatest thing I've ever had in my mouth in my entire life. My daughters were waiting for me at the end of the LA Marathon and
it motivates you.
And it motivates you. I definitely ran harder than I should have at the end of that race. But they only saw me for a second. I was like, hey.
My wife said to me, why are you doing this at one point? And I go, because I'm going to show the kids you can never quit.
I wish that my life lessons, the things I've done, see, everything I've ever done, my kids look at as a foolish adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why would dad run a marathon?
Yeah.
Like I told him, I'm running from Dodger Stadium to Santa Monica.
Oh yeah, I've rode that.
And they were like, why would you do that? And I was like, because. Like, and I was like, I don't know. One day you'll go like, well, shit, maybe I should do something like that. And then, like, they'd go see me at the Spartan race or at the Tough Mudder or at the fucking Neanderthal race. Or I've done almost all of them. The inflatable race, I've done them all for TV mostly. And my daughters are just like, and I it's funny, I can't get them to get out of their comfort zone in physicality, except for Georgia. And this is the one place Georgia and I have bonded, is Georgia loves my trainer. And
well, that's good.
And so she, my trainer was in there one day and was like, Georgia, let's see how much you can deadlift. And all the girls were in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so Georgia starts to deadlift. She goes, let's see if we can you can deadlift your weight. You should be able to do your weight. And Georgia got up like 140. She definitely weighs below that. She's only fucking 16. And she was beaming with pride.
Oh, that's awesome.
Beaming with pride. And then the other day she was like, I'm kind of curious of like what I can squat. And then you're like, oh, wow. Like maybe we're finding.
They're still young. They're still young to find it. I mean, I've brainwashed my kids. I mean, the little one, the 2-year-old comes in and has his own little plastic weights that he lifts while I lift. And
yeah.
And the girl,
the way you said that, the female one.
The girl's a star. She's fucking unbelievable. She can do 10 pull-ups already.
How old is she?
6. She's 14 pull-ups is her record. She is I'll take her on the trails and she'll outrun me. She's a freak. But like stuff like today, she goes, I'm bored. And I go 10 burpees. Like if she says I'm bored, she has to do 10 burpees. And I'm like, there's no reason to be bored.
No reason to be bored.
Ever. No one should ever be bored now that we have cell phones. We were bored.
I was bored as fuck.
You can't be bored with the cell phone. It's impossible. But I don't want my kids using cell phones. I don't want to be.
I hate my cell phone. I hate my cell phone. We're going camping this weekend. So I'm leaving Monday for 3 months. We're going camping this weekend. And I so badly don't want to bring my cell phone. But then you want it there because you want to videotape stuff. But I just want to be in the moment.
And you want to, there's times you need it for certain things that like you can find out like a million times I'll be somewhere and in a bad situation and I need the radar to know. Like,
yeah. A cell phone's super fucking handy.
But like everyone I know, and I'm in so many different things from surfing to like running to CrossFit to comedy. Everyone I talk to who's like good at what they do hates social media. Everyone hates it. And all I hear is people talk about wanting to get off it. Like, and they'll go, oh, it's so necessary and blah, blah. I just deleted all the people I follow and blah, blah, blah. And everyone I know hates it. And I'm like, why do we all do it if everyone hates it?
I'll tell you what, I'm the exact opposite. I just discovered TikTok and I can't fucking get off it. I've learned so much on TikTok.
I like when a friend sends me a funny thing, like a TikTok that's funny, and then I can share it with my like 5 friends from high school. Like I'm on like a group chat with my friends from high school.
I get those from Rogan, Tom, and Ari and I are on a chat. And you'll get those mostly these days. I don't even know what country Ari's in, but like me and Tom will text back and forth. But it's always just like bullshit that only we would find interesting, or a video of me lifting weights.
My high school friends and I got obsessed with the Wood, the guy with the big black cock.
Yeah.
I mean, it just became an everyday who could find the most unique meme of him.
There have been some really good ones with that guy.
And it was nonstop for like the whole pandemic. Like every single day there was another one. And now the joke is about just like, how do we explain to our family that that we're obsessed with black cock?
Why is it black cock makes it better than just cock?
I think it's just the size of that thing. I was just on Kurt Metzger's podcast the other day. Kurt, who's like involved with the funny, he wrote for Sacha Baron Cohen and he's involved in the funniest shit in the world. Had no idea who he was or had ever seen
That
one.
tracks. That definitely tracks. I can see Kurt's an interesting guy, and I don't think he's an interesting guy, and he's all in his head, and he lives in his own world.
Yeah.
What? Tell me. I'll get you out of here. I gotta go fucking.
I gotta piss.
Be a good dad. Well, we'll wrap it up. Tell me about the album.
It's called Sweet Home Alabama.
You shoot it in Alabama?
Malabama.
Oh, Malabama. I was like,
we call where I live because, like, the houses down on, Beach Road in Malibu and the Colony and everything are like $40 million. There's $100 million houses now in Malibu. Now, a bunch of them. They're building like $60 million houses next to each other. Like, it's insane. And these people that I know that I'm friends with, and you go over to their houses and you're like, wait, did you just say this house is $40 million?
That's insane. I can't. By the way, I have like issue with like $1 million house for our house that we live in right now is like worth $1 million. Yeah. And I go, seems like a lot. Like, it seems like more than you need in life. And it's a piece of shit.
Well, that's how I feel about our house. And so we are up in the mountains where there are, some, Will Smith lives.
Oh, I know where you are. I know where you are. Yeah.
He lives right down the road from me. And like Halsey lives in my neighborhood, but the guy across the street operated on his own scrotum and like literally cut his own ball sack open and sewed it shut.
I actually think there needs to be more at-home medicine done. I was just telling someone the other day, I was like, I can't wait until they can green light at-home dentistry where you can do your own dentistry, like Novocaine yourself.
I'll bet you if I talk to him, and I'm not going to say his name, but I'm very close to this guy. I'll bet you he's done some. Because, I
know people that have.
So surfers, a lot of the surfers I know do sew up cuts.
Yeah.
Because you'll go on like boat trips, they call them, like you go like in the Mentwise or you go to like the Maldives or somewhere. And if you're in this like weird place in Sumatra or something, like I was going to Sumatra with Tommy Chong's son, Paris Chong, who's a buddy of mine, really good buddy. He owns a surf camp in Sumatra. And I was supposed to go surf with him. And I go, hey, Paris, I'm a little worried about like how far, like, what am I going to do to get to an airport? And I have this insurance now where a helicopter will come get me. And
I've had that insurance for a while, by the way.
Yeah,
Travel Channel.
And I was like, I'm a little worried about getting smashed on the reef. Like, what's going to happen if? And he's like, oh, dude, you're fine, and you'll get out of there real quickly, and we'll motorboat you to blah blah blah. And he goes, and if it's just a cut, he goes, I'll sew you up. And I go, excuse me. And he's like, yeah, I'll sew you up. And I'm like, you'll sew me up? And he says, yeah, let me show you. He's like, I'll show you some pictures of some guys. Look at these ones I've done. This is my friend, and this is my friend, and this is my friend. If
I could do it properly, I'd sew myself up. If I in a heartbeat, I would need to know.
So there's a cool thing you can buy. I saw it on one of those Facebook ads. Order this. There's a little rubber thing that you practice.
Oh wait, I've been seeing those all over the place.
Yeah, and you practice suturing yourself.
Oh, that sounds brilliant.
Look, I would like to do it just to practice. I wouldn't want to. I was a ski patrol and did all kinds of shit on people, but I never sewed anyone up or put a needle in anyone. I wasn't allowed to. But I saw some gory shit, and I like gory shit. I don't think I'd want to sew a laceration up.
I don't know. Where did you shoot the album?
So I shot it at the Ice House. We shot it just as a spec, and we shot it right before the pandemic started.
Oh God.
And then I said, I think we're sitting on something good because no one has one and we have one. So luckily we just sold it to Australia. So it's going on national television in Australia, 8 airings on, on like one of the top channels. So it was like the best thing I had ever done because we shot it for like nothing. Really? And and so it's called Sweet Home Malabama because I always joke that where I live is not Malibu, it's Malabama.
Yeah.
Because we're up in the mountains and there's literally like people make their own moonshine and like
and cut on their own scrotums.
And there's like I found a rattlesnake dead on the road today. I rode over one like 3 days ago on my bike, my mountain bike. I was fucking flying and all of a sudden I went on a trail and I just went and I killed it. I went over and I went back and I started throwing it either played dead on me, but I didn't want to get close enough. But I mean, there's literally mountain lions and coyotes and bobcats and and just weird shit that goes on up there in the mountains. So it's all about that.
Where can people get it now?
It's on everything from YouTube, Pandora, Spotify, Amazon, iTunes. If you go to my bio on Instagram at Eddie Ifft, the link will take you to all of those because it's with 800-pound gorilla. So
fuck yeah.
Yeah. So
well, dude, I can't wait to take a piss. I'll go show you the gym. I love you. You're one of my oldest friends in comedy.
And I love your house. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous.
Thanks.
Your compound's incredible. You deserve all your success. You do. You bust your ass. You put the pedal to the metal. Like most people get heat and get something going on good and they lay off. You fucking put the pedal to the metal.
Oh, thanks, man.
And fucking hit it. And that's how people really become successful. So you deserve, it's not like, oh, he just lucked out. It's like, no, he got it, and then he didn't sit around. He fucking busted his ass. So
thanks, Eddie. I
will give you that. I mean, other than that, I don't think I do think you're a pussy that you didn't do the CrossFit Games against me.
But I wasn't training. I didn't care about CrossFit. Now I do.
I would have put on a weight vest that would have put my weight to yours.
You would never be able to compete with me at my weight.
Yeah, I would.
And you got to drink the night before, like I would.
No, I wouldn't do the drinking. The drinking, you'd knock me out. The drinking, because I don't drink anymore.
At all?
Hardly ever. Although I was over at the music on my podcast is, or on my albums from Serge Tankian from System of a Down.
Yeah.
I was over at his house.
Does he drink?
He gave me Armenian vodka the other night.
We tried so hard to get that guy on this podcast.
Really?
We tried so hard. Yeah, because I wanted to hear about
what's going on in Azerbaijan.
I wanted to talk about. Yeah, I was fascinated by it.
He'll tell you all about Azerbaijan.
No, his people kind of just shut us out.
Put it. I'll take care of it.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's one of my best friends in the whole world, and he is one of the most incredible people and nicest people. Like I don't know. I met him, and I was just like, oh, everybody in music must be like this. And
I guess not, huh?
And I went and did Kevin and Bean one day, and they were like, oh, you know, sir. And I was like, yeah. They're like, he is the nicest guy in music. And I was like,
well, set it up. I'd love to talk. I don't know if that's still going on with Armenia.
It is. Trust me, it's going on and it's fucking nuts.
That's how little I know about the news. All right, go piss. I'll show you my gym. I love you. Congrats.
Thanks.